And ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Welcome back. It is another incredible episode of the world famous Keeping It Rio podcast. And today I have gone out into the world, San Antonio to be specific, and I have found myself an expert in something that I think that we really need to focus a little bit of time and speak with an expert on. So, being true to my homeowners, to my people that watch the podcast, I decided to go find an insurance expert who could help the homeowners understand some of the changes going on and make sure that they don't get screwed. So, without any hesitation whatsoever, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome to the show the insurance papa himself, straight from San Antonio. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Jeremy Mock to the show. Jeremy, what's going on, buddy? How you doing today?
Morning. Happy Friday to everyone.
Yeah, it is Friday. That's something I always like to make note of because I'm going to release this either on a Tuesday or a Thursday in the evening. It is currently 6:07 a.m. on July 5th. So neither one of us partied too hard celebrating America yesterday. We both were responsible. We got up and we're doing a 6 a.m. podcast. So if you don't admire anything else about us, at least admire our dedication, right?
There you go.
So, right. Yeah, Jeremy, thank you for taking time to be on here. You and I have known each other for quite a few years, and we've got mutual family friends and things like that. So it was really cool for me when I moved down to San Antonio 5 years ago to actually meet someone that I knew, even though we hadn't been like close friends or anything. We knew each other, and it was kind of cool. And I think our friendship has developed from that. And I definitely want to start this episode, number one, by saying thank you, because you do send me quite a few referrals from your clients. And the fact that you trust my company and myself enough to do that means a lot. So thank you for that.
Of course.
Why don't you do me a favor and tell us a little bit about yourself to get started with our amazing episode?
Sure. So originally I'm from Ohio. So go Buckeyes, and I moved here to Texas in 2001. I used to be in the medical field, actually. So I did that for 13 years, and COVID left me without a job. So time for me to make a switch. And my wife is in the industry as well. So she knew my boss at the time, and he put out an ad, said he was looking for someone. So kind of did a 360 and career choice of industries, and went and took the test and studied and got my license, and I've been doing insurance since 2020. So I love it. So
yes, and that's what comes through. It's very clear that you love what you do because you're very passionate about helping people, and I appreciate and respect that. And now you've got a few years under your belt. You've helped several clients throughout San Antonio and other areas, I'm sure. Tell me a little bit about your experience. Okay. Like you said, you came from something completely different. This is always a cool dynamic for me to learn about. You go from something completely unrelated, and then you end up in the insurance world. Tell me a little bit about that transition. Was there anything that you found out before you really got ingrained into it that made you second guess or think, or has this been just like the coolest thing that you've ever experienced in your life and there's been no issues whatsoever?
Well, I'm sure that every industry has issues.
Roofing doesn't.
So, but the cool thing is in the industry of what I do is there's no limit to it. Your typical 9 to 5 job, you're limited to an hourly pay. So no matter what you do or how hard you work, you clock in, you clock out, you're going to get a paycheck, and that's it. So that's the world you live in when you're, a paid employee, by the hour. Whereas when you're on commission, it's a little bit different. So, the harder you work, the bigger your paycheck can be, depending on, what you put in and how hard you're willing to work for yourself. So, that's a different dynamic to it that I like, it's that there's no limit to it. So that's nice for family and kids and stuff like that, since I have a family and kids to support. But things I love about it, like you said, is, in the industry, when I was in the medical field, I helped people when they broke their arm, or I helped, do CPR and brought people back to life. And, did all that kind of stuff and saw all sorts of crazy stuff in the medical field, as you probably could imagine.
Oh yeah.
And I got the thank yous and thank you so much for helping, and there were some good people in the medical industry. I'm not going to say there wasn't, but I remember specifically when I was starting in the industry of insurance, and back in 2020, I remember a lady who came to me and had insurance, and her insurance rates were pretty high for her home and auto, and I shopped them around and got her some way better deals, stronger coverages and everything. And I ended up saving her over $2,000 on her home and auto insurance. And the thank you that I got from her was just on a whole nother level that I ever gotten from the medical field. And that just that first impression that I got right away from her, from that thank you, was just wow, this is I should have been doing this 10 years ago, instead of just 4 years ago. Because it was so gratifying to know how much I changed or helped her life, with her budget and money wise, to be able to free her up and give her some more space to live and to do things that she wanted to do, just by selling her some some good, better home and auto insurance. So it's just crazy. So that's what I where it became passionate about, helping people and doing what I do compared to what I used to do.
Yeah, it's a huge transition, but to me, it's actually amazing to think that you would go from saving people's lives to selling them insurance, and that it would be more gratifying, and that the people would be more thankful on the insurance side than, hey, Jeremy, my arm was just hanging off the side. Now I can move it again. Thanks, buddy. But it is that way. Homeowners are very grateful for someone like yourself, because I know myself, after 26 years in the roofing industry, that not every insurance company, not every representative does things the way that you do. Right. And that's why I have my insurance policies through you. I'm not just saying this because I have my auto insurance through Jeremy, and I have for a couple years now. And the reason why is because you did go above and beyond, and you went and you found something that actually worked for me, rather than saying, hey, here's this, one size fits all deal. And to me, that was very interesting, because I wasn't used to that. I've always worked with individual insurance carriers, and it was always just kind of here's what we have, take it or leave it. And you don't really think about the fact that you can maybe find something better. You just kind of take it for granted. So tell me a little bit about that aspect of your job, how that kind of differentiates you in your marketplace from some of the other people, and how your services can be more beneficial to your homeowners than, just a one size fits all type plan.
Sure. Definitely. Great question. I'd definitely love to elaborate on that. So I work for a company called Goosehead Insurance. So Goosehead has been in business since 2003. So what we are is we are a brokerage. We're licensed with over 30 A-rated carriers. So one of the stipulations that Goosehead has is it has to be an A-rated and trusted insurance carrier for us to work with them. So I am a platinum agent for Travelers, Progressive, Nationwide, Allstate, Farmers, and more. So what I do is I go around and shop around the industry and look at all those different carriers and try and find people the strongest coverage, and find the lowest prices. So I do the shopping. So that is a broker in the insurance industry. What you're talking about, what most people are used to, is what they call captive carrier. So a captive carrier is going to be like your State Farm, your Allstate, your USAA. Whereas you walk in the door and they're going to have one product to offer you, and that's it. And it's take it or leave it. And that's your one size fits all type, thing right there. And that's it. So the benefits of us is the power of choice. So when you have so many different carriers to shop from and so many different options, what we do is we look for the strongest coverage at the lowest price. I don't ever look for the one that has the highest commission or the one that has the highest price and say, oh yeah, here you go, this is the best deal for you, because that makes no sense. And the other benefit to it is you're going to get one phone call, and that's one phone call from me, and you're talking to one person. That's it. If you go online and you fill out some of these Google Forms or something like that, you're going to get bombarded with 50 different phone calls from 50 different agencies or 50 different carriers, and they're all going to try and ask you the same questions, and it's going to be just a big mess. Whereas you deal with one person and that's it. So that's definitely a lot more. And of course, we cater to the client and listen to what they need and customize their insurance, of course.
Yeah. And I think that's the way that it should be. It's a stress-free situation. People don't have to worry about being surprised when they file an insurance claim. That is something that I've had to really address a lot here recently. And I feel like it's going to continue to get worse before it gets better, in that things are definitely changing for homeowners with the way policies are being done, with the way that coverages are being provided, with the way that things are being paid for. And really, that's the most important thing that I wanted to kind of discuss with you is, as a homeowner, with myself being in roofing, if for decades, it's been the same thing. You go knock on someone's door and you tell them, hey, I'm here with ABC Roofing, whatever. We're going to check your roof. If there's enough damage, you file an insurance claim, your insurance will pay for it. The good ones always say, all you'll have to pay is your deductible. I'm not saying everybody does, but the good ones do. And then the insurance will cover everything. Well, I have noticed a big change. Maybe this started about 5 or 6 years ago, where I started seeing some different wording in the policy, not in the policies, because I'm not even legally allowed to look at and interpret them, but in the insurance paperwork that I look at, that I'm able to go through and get the scope and go through everything and look at. I've noticed some things have changed as far as the way that things are being paid, the way that things are maybe not being. Some things are not being covered anymore. Some things are. The deductibles have kind of gotten put into a blender and kind of mixed up. So tell me a little bit about, as a homeowner, as someone that's never gone through this process, what are some of the things that you should be aware of on your policy before you agree to that policy and start making those payments, to ensure that down the road, if you do have a problem, you're not going to find yourself, kind of screwed?
Exactly. Yeah. Good question. When you're looking at your policy, so one of the best pieces of advice I can give any homeowner is, if you want to get an option, there is a website out there that Texas puts out that we send to all of our clients when we're talking to them about insurance, and it is called opic.texas.gov, and it's where you can compare insurance, you can compare the policies, you can talk about, you can put in the actual company and see the rating and stuff like that. So it gives you a little background on that, so you can quote unquote fact check stuff. So, because that's the world we live in now, where people fact check stuff. So
and some of it's not even actual facts that they're checking. So I can appreciate that. The internet's full of stuff.
Right. And this is actual, Texas government website. So that's good, because Texas insurance is regulated by the state of Texas, which is where the ratings come from, which is important, to know that you're dealing with an A-rated company. But some things that are important to look at. So you definitely want to have replacement costs on your home. So that's one of the wordings that you want to look for, is that you have replacement costs on your home. You never want to have ACV or actual cash value on your home. Definitely a no-no. Now, if it's an old home and you don't have a loan on it, and you don't really care particularly if it burns down, you're just trying to get some kind of coverage, to cover you just in case for you have something on it, that's okay. But if you definitely want to get your monies back on the home, if it were to burn down, you definitely want to have replacement costs on your home. So you want to look for the policy that says replacement cost. Same thing, it goes for your roof, and same thing goes for your contents. I've seen lots of policies that come across my desk where it says limited coverage, limited, contents coverage, or payment schedule on a roof, or ACV on a roof, which stands for actual cash value and not replacement cost. I was shopping. I had a doctor that was looking for a policy buying a home a few years ago, and he was shopping me with a well-known brand carrier, and I was giving him a policy, and I believe my price was somewhere in the vicinity of like $1,500 for the insurance. Had all the bells and whistles. Was really, really good policy. Something I'd recommend to my friends and family or myself as I was buying the home. And he went to a carrier, and an agent was quoting him, and his policy was about $300 cheaper, and the numbers looked pretty much exactly the same. And he's like, well, hey, this policy looks exactly the same as yours, and it's about $300 cheaper, $200 or $300 cheaper. I'm going to go with that one. And I said, well, please send it over to me so I can take a look at it to see where they might be cutting some corners, because it happens in the industry, all the time. And that was, that's the big difference of what's going on in our industry, is you definitely want to have an agent that's going to write your insurance correctly. But this particular agent gave him payment schedule on his roof, and my policy had replacement costs on his roof. So that was the big difference of that $200 or $300 in the price. He had no idea. He thought he was just looking at all the numbers, and the numbers looked the same. So I was like, yeah, the policy does look the same if you compare it side by side. But that little bit of wording where it says replacement costs compared to actual cash value is going to make a huge difference when it comes time for a claim on your roof. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, the difference is you're going to pay your deductible. And let's say you have a hail claim, and the hail takes out the roof, and it's going to cost $20,000 to fix the roof. Well, you pay your deductible, the insurance company would pay the rest, and you're going to get your roof replaced. This policy that he gave you, which is he or she, on actual cash value, they're going to come out, look at your roof, and they're going to say, well, since this roof is X amount of years old, we're going to give you maybe $12,000 for the roof instead of $20,000. Now you pay your deductible, which could have been $2,000 or whatever the case may be. And now you get a check for, you're sitting here with a check for 10 grand, and now you got to come out of pocket another 10 grand to get to that 20 grand to get you a new roof. Big difference for what? A couple $100 of savings up front, on the back end, big difference. So yeah, some things to definitely look for.
That's huge. And I do want to kind of get into that just a little bit, because I think as a homeowner, everybody, especially in modern times right now, it is tight financially for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And, obviously insurance is one of those things that it's just like the roof to me. You don't ever think about it until a disaster has happened. You don't look at your roof until the ceilings are getting ready to collapse because there's a huge hole in it. You don't think about insurance until you actually need it. And I think a lot of people fall for this. Well, your premium can be a couple $100 lower if you go with this, if you go with that. Let me ask you this, Jeremy, and this is one of those hard-hitting questions I can ask someone, because I know you're a legitimate, honest person. Would there be, I know the answer, this is kind of crappy. I don't want to get you in any kind of trouble with this, but would there be any reason why a agent would sell those other types of plans to a homeowner knowingly, with the understanding that the homeowner may not know what they're getting into and it's going to screw them? Are there any kind of incentives offered, and maybe not through the companies that you work with, because again, you work with reputable companies? Are there incentives offered to agents who could potentially save the insurance carrier money based on those sales practices? Do you know what I mean with that? Like, if someone sells something that excludes a roof, would they make more money based on the fact that now the company's not going to have to pay for the roof down the road?
I don't necessarily think so. I don't think they're incentivized that way. I think they're incentivized by the number of policies they write. So that's the incentive. So if they can win the deal per se, then that's what they're shooting for compared to another agent. So that's why they're going to cut corners. So that's the big difference. So that would be, to answer your question there, is that's the incentive. But I think we're all on a commission-based, type situation. I don't think I do know there's a few, companies out there that do pay, quote unquote, a salary plus commission. So they do get a hourly pay. So those might not be as, as caring as just a full straight commission type person. But bottom line, I think it's just the numbers are just trying to get numbers and just trying to get the sale and beat the other agent and just get a cheap price. So that's why they would cut that corner and do that. They're not necessarily really trying to save the company money. They're just trying to pad their own pocketbook.
Trying to get that customer some coverage so that it can go into their bank account and they can get paid for it. And that's exactly what that question was intended to ask. And I appreciate that answer, because to me, I think it's crucial for homeowners to understand, a lot of times they say things like, well, I've worked with the same agent for the last 30 years. My agent is good. In a lot of cases, that agent's not the one that's handling your claims. They're never the ones handling your claims. But as far as, policy renewals and things like that, the guy that's been the agent for 30 years has probably people underneath him that are doing that for you. And that's why I think it's so crucial to make sure that you work with a company, with an individual that you can trust. Someone like Jeremy, who does, like I said, the reason you're my guy that I'm having on for insurance is because I work with you. And I know that you went through and found me the best plan for my driving, and you took the effort to do that. And I know that you do that for your clients because you want them to get what's right for them instead of what's right for you. And our core values align there, because that's how I do things too. But not everybody does, people. So just be aware of that. You hit on the differences there between the types of policies, the ACV, the RCV, which of course is actual cash value, replacement cost value. And then you mentioned the surface payment schedule. This is something that I ran across in College Station, Texas, maybe about, 6-7 years ago, the first time I saw it. And this became a major disaster for this individual. The homeowner actually ended up losing their home after all the dominoes fell. And my biggest concern for homeowners is that they again are going to be enticed by these programs that are going to save them a few bucks. Can you explain a little bit about what the surface payment schedule is, so that when someone's presented with that option for their policy, they know this is what it is. I'm going to hate this 5-10 years down the road. And that's why the educated decision needs to be made now. So can you go a little bit more into depth about what that phenomenon is, why it exists? Because I have no idea why it exists. It just came out of nowhere and seems like just an extra charge. So tell me a little bit about your understanding of that surface payment schedule and why a homeowner would or would not want that.
So the roof payment schedule, or ACV is another term for it, or payment schedule, or there's a couple different wordings for it depending on the carrier, but you definitely want to pay attention to that. So what that came about is to save the insurance company money, and to save the client some money. So when you elect that on your policy, or that gets selected on the policy, it does make it cheaper, because the insurance company does not have to pay out the full payment for the roof when it comes time for that hail claim. The number one cause of claims in Texas is wind and hail. Number two is water damage claims, and that's going to be like from stuff that happens on the inside of the home, like leaky pipes and stuff like that. But for roofs, so it's going to save the insurance company money. It's going to save the client money, because it's going to make the policy a little bit cheaper. But like you said, on the front end, it saves you maybe a couple $100, but on the back end, it's going to cost thousands when it comes time for that roof claim. So that's where it came about, is to save the company's money and to save the client some money up front, because everyone's trying to look for a cheaper deal or a better deal. And what it is basically, as if you were to buy a brand new home, 2024, if you were to get a payment schedule on your roof, well, if let's say you bought the home today, and next month, you had a hailstorm and it took out the whole roof. Well, if you're on a payment schedule and the roof was still, a month old, you'd pretty much get 100% of the roof paid for, because it's only a month old. It's still considered a brand new roof, being on a payment schedule. So when you're on a payment schedule, being a brand new home doesn't really hurt you that much. As the home gets older, though, that's where it does hurt you. And every company rates it a little bit different. So you definitely have to pay attention to that. And they list that on the policy when you get the policy, what that payment schedule is. They have to. So you understand what that percentage is. So every year as the home gets older, they take a percentage off of what they would give you for the replacement cost of the roof. So say, for instance, as the home is 5 years old, that could be maybe 20%. So again, if it was a $20,000 roof to replace it, well, that would be $4,000 that they would, not give you when it comes time to replace that roof. So instead of that $20,000 payout, they'd only give you 16. Again, I'm just shooting round numbers there, just an estimate. But like I said, every company is different and every payment schedule is different. So you always want to pay attention to that if you do select that. But I highly advise my clients not to do that. Always opt for replacement costs, because that's going to get you, what you need to get your roof done. Because unless you have a good roofer, like Chuck, that's going to help you out and take care of you in situations like that, and offer, payment plans and stuff. Because your typical homeowner is not going to have $20,000 sitting in the bank, in their savings account to say, you know what? Oh, my roof got taken out. My deductible is too high and my insurance isn't going to pay out, or they're fighting me to pay out. So I'm just going to go ahead and just pay my roofer and just, write a check for $20,000 and just go get a brand new roof and be done with it, and do that. But now, if you do get a new roof, it does give you a huge discount on the insurance too, because of course the insurance companies know, with that being the number one cause of claims and one of their biggest payouts for insurance is when you have a brand new roof, it's going to be less money out of their pocket. They give you a substantial discount on the rating factor for when you get insurance. I just had a client call me back this week. He got a brand new metal roof on his home. His insurance company that he previously had was canceling him, non-renewing him. So you always want to pay attention to your mail, your emails, and your regular mail, because you might be getting some letters in the mail from your carrier saying that we're non-renewing you, or we're cutting back our footprint in Texas, or whatever the case may be, because they're trying to get rid of their book, because they're just not trying to pay out on claims. They're trying to save money. So
it's getting in the way of the Super Bowl commercials, my friend. That's what's happening.
So that's happening a lot in the industry as well right now. So you always want to pay attention to that. So this particular carrier was, not going to insure this guy anymore because of his roof being too old and too worn, and said, you either got to get a new roof, or we're not going to insure you anymore. So he went out and got a new roof, which was great. He got a brand new metal roof, and he called me back and said, okay, let's take a look at the industry and see what else is out there since I got this new roof. And I got a way better policy with a totally different carrier. His carrier was only to give him like maybe $100 discount for having the new roof. Whereas when I flipped him to an entirely different carrier, it was way better discount for having the new roof instead of staying with the current carrier. So for all the homeowners out there that are listening, you go get a new roof and you're like, well, hey, I got a new roof, and I have XYZ, I have State Farm, I have USAA, or I have, whatever carrier out there that I have, Allstate, I'm going to go back and tell my guy, hey, I got a brand new roof, so I should get a good discount and just keep my insurance. Well, you might get a discount. That's true. But if you shop and you actually, go and look at entirely different carrier and get rated with that brand new roof, you might get a way bigger discount compared to staying where you're at. So
yeah, and boy, I'll tell you what, that's the best advice you're going to get off this episode is don't ever get complacent. Don't assume that because you've had your carrier for 30 years that they're looking out for you, because sometimes you just become a automatic ching, 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 ching. Add in whatever you want. Mrs. Jones isn't going to say anything. She's been with us for 30 years. Boom, 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 boom. So there were a couple things there that you hit on that I really want to kind of focus attention on for the next couple minutes. Number one, as a roofing contractor, one of the more common things that I encounter with homeowners is my roof isn't leaking. You know, I don't have enough damage. It's not bad. Everybody in the neighborhood's getting their roof replaced. This homeowner opts not to because in their mind, they're not going to be doing the right thing, you know, because they don't see this obvious damage and they don't see these leaks. This is the homeowner that always ends up really taking it in the pants at the end of the day, because you hit on something there where sometimes they get a letter from the insurance carrier saying, hey, guess what, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you guys have been awesome. You haven't filed a claim in 10 years. We know your roof is 10 years old. Awesome. Hooray for you. But by the way, now that your roof's 10 years old, it's far more prone to be problematic. And if you now don't replace that out of your own pocket, we're going to cut your policy. You're going to be done. And for a lot of people, they just assume, oh, well, you know, I'll just go shop and get somewhere else. It's not that easy, is it, Jeremy?
No, it's not. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, let's dive into that a little bit. As a homeowner, you're trying to do the right thing. And in a lot of cases, I've come to find out that these are typically senior citizens. And I think that's just the mindset. Don't be wasteful. You know, I don't want my premiums to go up is what they always tell me. And we both know that not to be the case. So tell me why, as a homeowner, it is not to your advantage to do what would seem to be the right thing, even though everybody else in your neighborhood's doing it. Why would you not want to be that one person that decides not to? It's an interesting conundrum, right? Because it would make sense not to file a claim. You want to be a good customer. You want to be paying in. But like I said, those are also the people who at the 10-year mark get that letter saying, hey, you paid all this money in, but now we're going to get rid of you because you didn't file a claim. Why would that not filing a claim be the worst possible scenario for a homeowner in that case?
So, you know, again, that's, you know, industry, you know, just having the knowledge of knowing that one of the biggest rating factors for home insurance is the roof. Okay. So, you know, you always want to make sure your roof is up to snuff, maintenance and being taken care of. And someone like Chuck, like yourself, would come out and check it and give it, you know, an inspection to let you know, hey, it's, you know, I always tell my homeowners when they get a policy with me, that insurance is there. You know, when I write a policy, I put all the important stuff on a policy. You know, there's little frills and little stuff, like you can put a glass endorsement on a policy, you know, okay, you know, but really, do you really want to file a claim for a window? I mean, a window is going to cost you maybe $500 or less. So, but that claim is going to stick with you for 3 to 5 years. So that's going to follow you, you know, wherever you go, that you have a claim for a window. I tell people insurance is there for the big items, okay, for the big claims. You know, I myself, I'm a homeowner, and I've been a homeowner since 2014, so over 10 years. Never filed a claim until last year, and, you know, did file a claim, and, you know, it was my first time filing a claim, and it was for the roof. And so, you know, we got a new roof, and, you know, and it helped with the insurance, because as soon as I got the roof, you know, we got a renewal from the insurance company. And of course, it was through the roof, no pun intended. And but one of the carriers I know, it gives a very, very good discount for having a new roof. I reshopped it with them and got a much, much better deal since we had a new roof. So that was the scenario. So, and that roof ended up being like $20,000. So that's where I tell my homeowners, you know, that's where you want to use your insurance. You definitely want to use the insurance for that particular situation, is when it's time to, you know, get that roof replaced, not, you know, payment schedule, get it replaced. So someone like you is definitely good to have in your back pocket, a trusted roofer to come out and give you that opinion and say, yeah, this storm that just came through definitely took out your roof. It would be in your best interest to file that claim, to get that adjuster out here and get that roof, you know, taken care of. Because one, you're going to have the insurance get you a new roof, and then two, it's going to set you up for, you know, for the next, you know, several years of having a new roof, of getting, you know, better insurance premiums because you have that new roof. So, yeah, you know, on one hand, you're trying to be a good, a good a good patron of the insurance company and say, well, I'm trying to be good and not file a claim. But on the other hand, you want to file the claim for the roof because that's the biggest factor for home insurance. And if you have that new roof, it's definitely going to put you in a better spot, money wise for policies moving forward later, down the years for that. And you're allowed to file a roof claim every 5 years. It'll fall off. So that claim is not going to stick with you forever. So a lot of people don't, understand that or maybe know that. They think, well, if I file a roof claim, then, that's it. I won't ever be able to do it again. Well, you certainly can. It's only going to stick with you for 3 to 5 years, depending on the carrier. So you can definitely do it again. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I like that. And I think that's the biggest concern with people, that, and then also if I file a claim, my premiums are going to go up. And I always tell people, you can't be punished based on an act of God. There's a huge difference between falling asleep on the couch and burning your house down because you left the stove on, right, or driving through the front of your house because your foot slipped, and an act of Mother Nature in which the only way you could avoid it would be to pick your home up off the foundation and actually move it out of the path of the storm. But a lot of people still are always hesitant to say, well, wait, if I file that claim, I'm going to get charged extra. I'm going to get punished for it. And in reality, the pricing is going to go up for those people regardless, based on the fact that everybody else is doing it. So right, it's not well advised to leave that alone. And something else I've seen is, with hail claims, especially, it takes a little time for most hail damage to start impacting the roof system negatively. And just because your roof's not leaking a week or two after the hailstorm doesn't mean it's not going to a year or two down the road. And the next question I have for you, is there some sort of a timeline for a homeowner to be able to file a claim based on hail damage? Is it possible for them to wait too long and then have repercussions based on, now it's leaking 4 years down the road, and because you chose not to do anything 4 years ago, you're now held accountable for that on a greater scale?
Yeah, I believe typically most carriers are going to give you a 12-month leeway. So if you had XYZ for your home insurance, let's say back in July of 2023, and a hailstorm comes through and you now have new insurance, July of 2024, they give you that 12-month leeway to file that claim. So you do have up to 12 months. I believe some carriers might give you up to 24, but I want to say for sure 12 months is definitely industry standard, that you're going to have at least a year to file that claim after you've gotten rid of that insurance and you maybe switch to a different insurance carrier. They're still going to cover that roof for the time period that that happened. A lot of the insurance companies have these storm trackers, and they do their homework, so they know, if you file a claim, they can go back and look and see when that storm came through, and they can tell, if that was during the time period that they were insuring your home, or if it was with a different company. Because if you switch companies and had a different insurance on your home at that time, who might the responsibility fall under? So there is a grace period, of 12 months for sure, that an insurance company will cover you. But I always tell my homeowners, don't wait. The longer you wait, the more that you're putting yourself, in a liability, standpoint that, it could hurt you. So, that's always good to have a roofer like you to come out and give an opinion, or, give an estimate, or give a look and check it out after a storm, and just say, hey, what's the condition of my roof after the storm? Would you say it's, been taken out, or is it, did it do enough damage that you would say this is, considered worthy of a claim, or is it still got a lot of life left and it's, only got a few nicks and, a couple, nicks and tins here or whatever, or is it's definitely worth the claim now at this point? So, don't wait. So I don't know. I believe you do a consultation, or you come out and look at roofs. And it's a small fee. It's not very expensive.
Yeah, to get started with that, honestly, if someone were to call me and say, "Hey, Jeremy just referred me to you. Can you come out and take a look at my roof?" I'm going to do that initial consultation absolutely free of charge. I want to go out there. I want to take a look and really, spend a good 30, 45 minutes looking at the roof surface, looking at all the collateral items around the perimeter of the property to kind of build a compelling case. And, just because there was documented hail in an area doesn't mean that it did enough damage to some of these things to actually warrant that claim. And a good example is I was in Leon Valley, Texas a couple months ago. There was some big hail that hit. And I literally went to the exact intersection where it was saying, golf ball size hail. And I got on 3 or 4 roofs. You couldn't even tell. It just wasn't dense enough to do any damage. So there are so many different variables with the weather. It's one of those things we'll never fully understand. And, I often tell people you can't spot hail damage typically from the ground. If you can see the spots on your roof, then yeah, you need to call your insurance because that was brutal. But in a lot of cases, it's undamp. You can't see it from the ground. It's undetectable. You get up there and you're looking for pieces of granules that have been dislodged and they're kind of coming loose. And, I always tell people it takes a long time for that to cycle through and to start becoming a leak, but it is your responsibility as the homeowner as well to do your due diligence to make sure that someone comes out and takes a look at it. And, if you don't, there are probably going to be some repercussions down the road that you're not going to be happy with. So I think that's pretty good. Always call your roofer before you call your insurance claim line. I say that the chain of command should be call your insurance agent, which would be, hey, Jeremy, we just had this storm. Give me a little bit of advice. You're going to give proper advice. Hey, call your roofer. Here's some people that I trust. Have the roofer come out and assess it before you have the adjuster on the line, before the adjuster is scheduled to come out, because sometimes the adjusters come out and there's nothing. And, that's not a good thing. And that goes onto your files. So something that you mentioned I really like is being able to shop things and getting those discounts for having higher quality roofs. One of the things that I have encountered and I've seen across the industry in general for roofing is that some of these higher grade roofs are now also getting these what they're calling exclusions, cosmetic exclusions. And like a metal roof, let's say that you've got a brand new metal roof on, you've got this policy and someone gives you a cosmetic exclusion. Basically, this is saying that if your roof gets torched with hail and it looks like a golf ball, you're kind of stuck with it because it's not functionally causing a leak. Can you ever think of a situation where it'd be beneficial to a homeowner to get a cosmetic exclusion on any type of higher grade roof system? Would there be any reason at that point, you spend the money to get the good roof, so why would you cut corners on the back end? Or is that something that sometimes just gets kind of slipped in and people aren't aware of?
Exactly. It does get slipped in where people are not aware of it, or there are carriers that don't offer it. So not every insurance carrier offers that cosmetic clause where they will cover the roof for cosmetic damage. So as an agent, we always, like my agent, like myself, I always want to let the client know, hey, you have this beautiful metal roof, I'm getting you an awesome deal with this carrier. Just understand I have another carrier over here that will give you the roof and will cover it with the cosmetic clause. So if you do have cosmetic damage, they'll replace the roof and it's going to be X amount of dollars. But I have another carrier over here that will give you all the same coverages and everything without that cosmetic clause, and it's going to be X amount of dollars. So you choose the one that's best for you. This is what I'd recommend, but this is the other option too. So again, power of choice, and they can see the price difference and then make that determination of what they want, for them. But like you said, if they're going to spend all that money and have that beautiful metal roof, why not have the cosmetic clause in the policy to make sure it covers the roof for cosmetic damage? So definitely, worth it.
Yeah, nothing worse than having a beautiful roof that looks like a golf ball and knowing that there's nothing you can do about it. And I've met some people that have lived that experience. So take it from
Yeah.
me firsthand. You don't want to be that person. A couple $100 is not worth the anger and frustration. And they were cursing their insurance carrier. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it's ultimately your responsibility to know what you're paying for. And
Right.
I didn't know is never going to be a good answer. It's never going to stand up in a court of law. And that brings me to my next question. As we've continued to see the insurance process evolve, back maybe 15 years ago when I was selling roofs, it was a different process. You could go to a homeowner, you could meet the adjuster out there. The adjuster, you kind of become friends with them. You go through it. They take care of the customer. You're good. The homeowner only has to pay their deductible and then everything else. As we've seen things change and as there have been more disasters nationwide, there have been hail, there have been wind events, there have been major hurricanes, all kinds of tornadoes. Ohio, I mean, goodness gracious, tornadoes just leveled a lot of Ohio.
Right.
And with these bigger claims, the ones that are not, I don't want to even use the word deniable because it makes it seem like there's we're trying to deny everything, but these claims are undeniable and they're very costly. And I've noticed, for example, in several states, a lot of insurance carriers are no longer taking on new clients for whatever reason in those states. And to me, the biggest change I've seen is we've been going from fixed deductibles to now percentage deductibles, and they're a percentage of the value of the home. And the biggest shock to me is how little homeowners actually are aware that this is happening to them, and they're finding these surprises when it comes time to file that claim. So tell me a little bit about this evolution from, 15 years ago where it's like, here's how much it's going to be. Here's the check, you can even shop it, the evolution of depreciation. And now we've gotten to the point where we're depreciating depreciation and we're making the deductibles larger. So as a homeowner, there's one side of that coin. As a roofing contractor, I see a huge benefit to this because now roofers can't just go knock on doors and say, hey, we'll do it for free. You don't have to pay your deductible, because you can't eat a $7,000 chunk of a project and make any money. Now, some people will still try, but tell me a little bit about this evolution. Homeowners, as you're getting your policies renewed, what are some of those things that you should be aware of? Because that is a major shock when you go from $1,000 to a $7,500 or whatever deductible. What do you see moving forward? Is that going to continue to grow? Is it going to kind of stay where it's at? What do you think as far as the future goes with deductibles?
So, good question, and you're absolutely right. It is happening. So you definitely want to pay attention to your policy. Again, pay attention to your emails. If you're have a paperless, type situation where they're not sending you stuff through the mail. If they are sending you stuff through the mail, you definitely want to pay attention to your mail coming from your carrier for all kind of notices. So I, am a victim of this myself. So can definitely speak about it. So I had an insurance carrier myself that offered $1,000 deductibles. They used to offer those nice, really low deductibles in the beginning. We had a few carriers back when I started doing insurance in 2020 that offered $1,000 deductibles, nice low deductibles, and everyone liked those low deductibles because heck, who doesn't want to spend just $1,000 out of their pocket when it comes time for a claim? That's awesome. The flip side of that is that costs a lot of money for the insurance company because they have to pay out the most, which is, it's the age old saying. As your deductible lowers, your premium is going to go up. As your deductible goes up, your premium should go down. So what's happening is the insurance companies that used to offer those nice low deductibles, some of them have taken on so much risk and paid out so much in claims, they're either have gone under and, closed up shop and sold off their policies and they're gone from Texas, or B, they're still around, but they can't offer the $1,000 deductibles anymore. And they've now gone to a higher deductible and sent you a letter in the mail and said, hey, by the way, your deductible isn't $1,000 anymore. It's now 2%. And industry standard now for Bexar County is gone to almost a 2% deductible. Industry standard back when I started in 2020 was either you could have those $1,000 deductibles or a 1% deductible. So the percentage deductible is going to be based off of your coverage A amount. So your coverage A amount should be what the replacement cost is of the home. So if you have a $300,000 coverage A amount on your home, then 1% would be $3,000. So if you go to a 2% deductible, then that's where you talk about, $6,000 out of your pocket for a 2% deductible. So the insurance carrier that I had sent a letter in the mail and said, yeah, we're moving everyone from, the deductible that you had to a 2% deductible. So that was the letter I got in the mail in 2023 when I had the insurance carrier. And that was the first thing that they changed. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. All of a sudden I have a 2% deductible. That's not cool. But if I wouldn't have been paying attention to my mail or anything like that, I wouldn't have known, because they don't give you a phone call and say, hey, by the way, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, a homeowner, we're changing your deductible. Just wanted to give you a phone call and let you know. They just send you a little email, or they send you a letter in the mail. And and it doesn't have a big red, stickers on it or urgent or anything. It just looks like a piece of mail.
Yep.
So
we told you it's your fault that you didn't catch it. We told you.
If you didn't open it up and look at it and read it, it looked like maybe some kind of solicitation or something like that, and you just threw it away, then you didn't know, because it happens all the time where it looks like just, some kind of just junk mail and you throw it away. So you definitely want to look at all your mail. So that's the first thing that happened. Then recently, just this year, that same particular carrier sent out another letter and said, we are now taking all our roofs that were at replacement cost and changing them to ACV. So what we talked about earlier. So all my clients that I wrote with this particular carrier, and myself included, at that time were changed from a replacement cost on the roof to an ACV type situation. No matter who you were, what year your roof was, whatever, they just flipped you automatically, and didn't ask anyone, didn't say, hey, we're going to give you the option, just flipped you, and that's it. And if a hailstorm came a month later and you didn't open that piece of mail, and then now you file that claim, then they're calling you up, Chuck, and saying, hey, come out, check out my roof. And then they file the claim, and all of a sudden they're in that situation where, oh my gosh, I have to pay $7,000 out of my pocket, and now my insurance carrier is not going to pay very much for my roof. This is horrible. This company is, junk, where they're not junk. They're just trying to cut back on costs and save their butt from going under and going bankrupt because they paid out so much in claims. Texas alone, when we had that freeze a few years ago, when we had that freeze and the whole state shut down for like a week, everyone was in pandemonium. The insurance industry paid out like $11 billion in claims for Texas. So everyone, the common question that I get every day from all my clients that are calling me, and the calls I get is, why is my insurance going up? Why is my insurance going up? Why is it, prices going up? Why, oh my gosh, my insurance doubled, or, why is this, it's this, insurance has gone up. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. How much, my insurance went up. And, unfortunately it's true. Prices do go up. I tell people all the time, I wish I could still get gas for $1.89, but I can't. Right. So insurance rates do go up, but again, that's the beauty of having someone like me in your back pocket, because last week I had a lady come in and she had insurance carrier, and sent me her policies, and she showed me her deck pages and showed me her renewals, and it was going to be like, I think $3,400 or $3,800 was her renewal on her home insurance. And it was with a particular carrier that we talk about all the time that you don't like. I won't.
There's a viral video where I mention them by name that's got about 20 million views. So I won't say it because I've already made that mistake once.
Right. So I'm not going to say any names, but it's one of those carriers that you don't like.
Everybody loves a good neighbor.
And so I reshopped her policy and got her way better deal. I think I got her home insurance for like $2,200 instead of $3,800, what her renewal was. And she was a senior citizen, fixed income. So super happy. I was able to save her all that money and get her a way better policy for her home. So yeah, then again, that makes it worth it for me to be able to save, people like that money and get them a better deal. But yeah, it's happening in the industry where the deductibles are being changed. I see it across the board. It's happening in Texas. Some of the industry standards up north in Texas and like Dallas and that area is like a 3% wind and hail deductible. Over in Houston is a 3% wind and hail deductible. At the coast is 3% wind and hail deductible. Those are industry standards now. Which is, where I scratch my head is one of the things for Goosehead that we do as a company is we don't advertise, we don't do radio commercials, television commercials. We're strictly word of mouth. And where we shoot our business to is we try and help out realtors and loan officers and help them with their business. And we help people with home closings and buying their homes and that type of situations. And when you buy a home, some of the home programs out there, when you buy a home, the minimum deductible that you can have when you buy a home, depending on the loan program that you do, is a 2% deductible. So I've been scratching my head lately, like thinking, how are we, how are they getting these loans done, or how are they, what are they doing? Because, we're trying to help these loan officers out. We're trying to help the realtors out to get these deals done. And if the industry standard is now becoming like a 3% deductible, but the loan program that they're doing, whether it be like a VA loan or a conventional loan or a bond loan, they call it, and they can only accept a 2% deductible, and we shoot over a policy that's a 3% deductible. Now all of a sudden they're going to be in a conundrum where, okay, now my insurance isn't going to work for the loan program to get to buy this home. So now, because of the industry, what's going on in the insurance world, you might not be able to buy your home, that you're looking at. So another thing to be aware of and be concerned about, when you're talking about buying a home. So, I mean, it's affecting, even new purchases with what's going on in the insurance world right now too.
Yeah, there are crazy repercussions to every decision that you make. And I always tell people, the insurance carriers they're smart. They aren't in business to give money away left and right to everybody just because. And to me, I really, like I said, as a roofing professional that's been doing this, that focuses more on quality, I don't have a problem with what's going on because I think it is something in which for many years, and I'll say this for the roofing industry, I think that the roofing industry has been guilty of many people taking advantage of the situation. Many people have been filing claims that may not be 100% fileable or may not be necessary. And I think that the repercussions are that we get upside down. And now it's like, well, we don't have any money. So rather than being generous, we're going to start charging you guys more and giving you less, where now you can't just be an untrained, I always say monkey, which is the person that just goes in and says, we will do it for whatever the insurance will pay you. And that is all you will have to do. Because now you actually have to be able to provide value to separate from everybody else, because $7,000 deductible, like I said, you're not going to be able to absorb that. You're not going to be able to do a quality project. I walked away from a job the other day that a local roofer has accepted. It was a $22,000 claim. He got an ACV check for $13,000, did not want to pay his deductible, and had no depreciation on the back end. And the guy was expecting people to do this, I think it's a 10, 15-year-old 3-tab shingle roof that's been depreciated to that point. And he says, well, 2 roofing companies say that they'll do it for that. Good luck. You're going to be in a lot of trouble. And I hate to say, but, you know, we tried to tell you. So we, Jeremy, are coming up on an hour of doing our podcast so far. I like to keep them in an hour, but I have like two other things I'd like to discuss if it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to take too much of your time, but number one, okay, this is the most important question of the entire podcast. First off, 1A, are you able to broker insurance in other states other than Texas, or just a Texas-based insurance broker?
So Goosehead is nationwide. So we're everywhere. Currently, I am licensed in Texas and Arizona at the moment. So I can do insurance in Texas and Arizona. But Goosehead is everywhere. So if you come to me and you needed insurance in Ohio, I could definitely recommend you to a good professional with Goosehead in Ohio and be able to get you the same type of service and level of service in a brokerage type situation where they shop around in Ohio or wherever the case may be, whatever state you're at.
I love that. So anybody that's watching that needs to get cleaned up a little bit on their insurance, wants to work with an honest person, what is the best way? This is question 1B for those folks to reach you personally, to have you take a look at their policy coverage to find the best thing for them. What is the best way to reach out to you for those needs?
Sure. So couple best way, would be a phone call. So my direct line for a phone call would be 210-874-2133. So that's my direct line for a phone call. If you want to send an email, that would be jeremy.mock@goosehead.com, and you can just shoot over your policies to me. I always tell people to get a copy of what they call their declaration page for their home and auto, and I could take a look at it and, give them an honest opinion of what they currently have from their agent and see what they have on there, what they're missing, good coverages, bad coverages, things that could be, of relevancy to their insurance, their claims, that wording that we talked about that's important to have. So definitely those are the two best ways to get a hold of me, phone or email.
There you go. I highly recommend that, ladies and gentlemen. And like I've said numerous times throughout the podcast, I am a client of Jeremy. So I say this from experience. I'm not just inviting random people onto my podcast and trying to push them out to the world. I only interview the people that I would trust to work with. And this guy's the man. So that kind of concludes the business portion of the Keepin' It Rio podcast. I do have a question about something that's completely unrelated to insurance, and you're the perfect guy because you're the only other person I know that I can say is a diehard San Antonio Brahmas fan, right?
All right.
So you're a football guy. I'm a football guy. I got Brutus Buckeye back here wearing a Rio Blanco hat. Been to many, many games. You and I actually went to the first Brahmas game last year in the history of the thing, right? And I think you've been to several since. So let me ask you this, okay? When I moved to San Antonio, we had this team that had been there for like 3 weeks called the Commanders.
Right.
And if you look closely right back here, that's actually a can of San Antonio Commanders beer. It's
awesome.
Dark right now, but I've got a Commanders beer back there. And the reality is I was not living in San Antonio when that started. And I think that league lasted like 4 weeks or 5 weeks or something like that. I moved to San Antonio the week before the thing went out of business, and I never got to go to a game. So I told myself, okay, you move to a new area. I can't just jump in here and be like, yeah, I'm a Spurs fan, because I've never been a Spurs fan. I'm not a local. So I was like, damn, we had a team. They left. Okay. I have to wait for another opportunity. I get this opportunity with the San Antonio Brahmas. And last year I was a little disappointed because our coach was Hines Ward. And I'm just being totally honest with that. I was disappointed. Not a Hines Ward fan. I grew up in Ohio, Pittsburgh, not a thing. But it was cool that we had a team, supported the league. They go through this transition over the summer to where it's like now there's going to be 2 leagues combining into one. Let me ask you this, sports analysis time. Number one, what did you think about the combined league, the new UFL that we are now a member of? And what did you think about the San Antonio Brahmas season? I mean, we freaking made it to the Super Bowl.
I
We got our
know.
ass kicked, but we made it to the Super Bowl when everybody thought we were going to be bums this year. So tell me a little bit about that, your fanhood. Tell me a little bit about the San Antonio Brahmas with some in-depth analysis from the only other person I know that has watched every game.
Well, there's an age-old saying, the fish stinks from the head down. So I think the coaching was a big change, from getting rid of Hines Ward and, getting our new coach, the ex-Cowboys coach, definitely made a huge difference, I think. And I think they made some other coaching changes as well, because our defense was just amazing this year. Our defense kept us in games, and I think won us some games this year that this last year just wasn't there at all. I mean, I was very impressed with the games that I went to this year. When I remember specifically that Michigan game when we played Michigan. How well we played. I was like, wow, this team is way different and better than last year. Just amazing, like that's night and day contrast different. And I'm just like, wow. And I had high hopes at that point for when I went to that game. And wow, we went all the way to the playoffs, way to the championship. And I was like, dang, we're gonna win this thing, but of course we got our butts kicked, like you said. But,
I was so confident in that championship game too, because we were the only team that beat Birmingham, and honestly,
I know.
we handled Birmingham. It was like, okay, this is cool. And I realized, okay, they were probably taking it easy. They had already clinched. They were already in the spot. They didn't have anything to worry about. But I mean, the momentum was there, and I felt like the Brahmas were going to do it. And then they laid a freaking donut at the end of the season. But what a cool thing! And yeah, I really enjoyed that league. I think that we'll see again this year in the NFL. They're going to probably adopt some of the things that they've done in the summer league. So it does serve a purpose. I think they had 13 players that signed with NFL teams the day after the season ended. So it's doing what it's supposed to do. Yeah, hopefully we can get some more support here in San Antonio. I think our attendance was kind of bad compared to what it was last year, but there was uncertainty. It's not very well promoted here in town. I don't see any kind of promotion. I had friends that I told, hey, dude, we got Wade Phillips. And it's like, what? I didn't even know he was still alive. I didn't know there was a team. And it was a lot of fun, though. So from one Brahmas fan to the other, hopefully we can have this league and it can be here in San Antonio, because I don't think we're going to get an NFL team. And honestly, I think it's more charming to watch this other league, because it is the guys that aren't making as much money. They're doing it because they love it. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. And honestly, I think now, as weird as this seems, I think that the spring football league actually has kind of taken over in my heart, as far as the reason for being the people playing for the love of the game, even over college football, because college football now has become a huge business. And I think it's just kind of cool to see guys go out there and play because they want to. And
I agree.
Hopefully we can win the whole damn thing next year, and we can have the league, and San Antonio can become the football capital of the state of Texas.
I know. Awesome.
We've got the Buckeye quarterback over here in Houston that's going to turn them into a powerhouse. I think the Cowboys are going to just be the Cowboys. So whatever. And the one thing that you said there is that we did, in fact, play the Michigan team. And my boy Brutus over here is still smiling, because even in the UFL, our team defeated Michigan. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is about as in-depth an analysis as you're going to get. I want to definitely thank you, Jeremy, for taking the time. Like I said, 6 a.m. on a Friday. This has been a great episode. I'm going to put these out in reels so we can help answer questions for our homeowners. And again, if you're in San Antonio, if you're anywhere and you're watching this, you need to get better coverage on your home. You need someone that's going to look out for your needs. Definitely give Jeremy a call, because that's exactly what he does. And he is my go-to guy for that very reason. So until next time, ladies and gents, thank you for watching Keeping It Rio. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends, go outside, start screaming Keeping It Rio at the top of your lungs. If you can help one person find out about our show by doing that, then it was worth the effort and the potential jail time. So thanks for all that. Until next time, everybody, cheesy, corny line is keep on keeping it Rio. We'll see you guys
All
later.
right.